Alright, so Hyundai has released the new IONIQ 6, some images and some wording about it, not a lot of details as a matter of fact, but today we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you my opinion of it. Welcome back to All Cars, y'all, and this is a pretty big car for Hyundai. This continues their assault on the EV market and attempt to become one of the biggest EV makers in the world, and I have really mixed feelings on it. So let me introduce it to you, show you kind of what we've got, and I'll tell you my opinions at the end. Now, the release for this, it released several pictures and one video, is filled with flowery language, but they're actually calling this the Streamliner. Now, it's based on a prototype that they had before, a concept car, and what they've released is a pretty sexy looking, flowing, maybe hatchback. It's pretty awesome looking. In fact, it looks a lot like a Porsche, but not as smooth, not as refined, not as upscale. When the manufacturer releases a press release, and they're not talking about the battery, the life, the range, the power, but they talk about how many pixels they have scattered around. It tells you something about their focus here. Now, they're really looking for a customer driver focused cocoon is what they like to call it, where it's not one size fits all. They use a lot of flowery verbiage for this, which absolutely drives me up the wall. An example is that the IONIQ 6's cocoon-shaped interior serves as both a comfortable hideaway and personal space, replete with practical features and sustainable materials to facilitate a mindful, eco-friendly mobility experience and lifestyle. Come on, it's a car, but you know, I get that, and I think it's pretty cool what they are trying to do. Let's talk about the exterior first. I think I like it. There's a lot of cuts in the body here, a lot of body panels, and the headlights strike me as just a little harsh. Not the light itself, but just the cuts around it. Again, looks a little bit like a Porsche Taycan, but almost unfinished. And I think this is their current design language. If you think about the IONIQ 5, which I absolutely adore, it's got this little harshness to it. I think it's intentional. Down the side, I really like this long, swooping look to it, and all the way to the tail. I don't love the tail. I like the idea of it swooping all the way down to the bumper, but I don't like the tail, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then just more cuts in the body. It just looks a little almost harsh. That's the word I'm looking at here. Now, they've only shared a few pictures inside of the interior, and honestly, it looks stark to me. You've got the screens in front of you, very similar to the IONIQ 5, and you know, controls. It looks like it's got some knobs, it's got some buttons, it's got that center area there with some storage underneath it. It just looks a little cold to me. Now, what they're doing is they're warming it up by offering a ton of ambient lighting options, where users can choose from a spectrum of 64 colors and 6 dual color themes to help drivers and passengers feel relaxed and comfortable. You know what, just a lot of hyperbole. It seems kind of ridiculous, but they at least are being serious about it. Transparent accents on the crash pad, garnish, door mat pockets, console lower cover further accentuate the sense of spaciousness and uniqueness. You know, here's the deal. They actually are putting some serious thought into not just the car, but its sustainability, and I'll commend them for that. I joke about it, but I'll commend them for it. 0.21 coefficient of drag, and then on the interior, get this, they used a lot of sustainable materials, depending on the trim level. Quote in here, these include eco-processed leather for the seats, recycled PET fabric for the seats, bio-TPO skin for the dashboard, bio-PET fabric for the headliner, bio-paint derived from vegetable oils in the doors, and recycled fishing net carpet. The latter is a first for the IONIQ brand. So kind of cool what they're trying to do here, but you'll notice what's missing is details. When a press release is talking about how, I don't know, bright the center stoplight is, you know they're not going into a lot of detail here. What we do know is that it's based on the IONIQ 5 platform, so it's probably going to have the same motors, you know, starting at 225 horsepower. Might have similar range, don't know. It might be bigger, it might be heavier, but it might be more efficient. So we don't know where the range is going to actually end up. And also, according to the press release, we don't really know what the price is going to end up being. But let's get to my opinions, and it's mixed. I want to love this. You know, the ridiculousness of they show like a smooth shape, like a rock in a flowing river, and, you know, I don't know. I want to like it right until you get to the rear end. You end up with this, looks like they cut a wedge out of it to put in the rear light, and it just kind of breaks up the whole thing for me. It looks like a Porsche mixed with an old Mercure mixed with a rear lighting that honestly we've all seen before. It was the Lincoln MKZ. So I think I like it. I don't like the interior. It seems to be edging on the side of of Tesla, of minimalist to the extreme, and it lacks a certain richness, a certain, I don't know, it just comes across very harsh to me. So I'm really fascinated to learn more. I'm going to hold my final thoughts until I see one in person, with one big caveat, which is Hyundai, I do believe, is one of the leaders in styling right now. I think that they are doing amazing things to take what is a mainstream brand and do really interesting design, most of which works really well. And they're not like Toyota where they end up with something that just looks funky and weird. Hyundai's really doing it right. And the Sonata taught me a lesson, because when they redesigned the Sonata, I hated it. I still don't quite love it, but it grew on me. And I feel very strongly that's what's going to happen with this car. I don't love it. I'd much rather have an IONIQ 5. But I have a feeling this shape, after it's been around for a year or two, I want to say I'm going to love it. So let me know your thoughts below, guys. Thanks for being here.